Hello YouTube, my name is Isabella and today I'm going to be doing my April and May wrap-up. I didn't really read enough in just May to fully warrant a wrap-up video, so I figured why not talk about some of the books that I read in April as well, because I had just started my channel at that time and I wasn't really prepared to be editing a bunch of videos. I've been in a slump these past few months, but I think I'm finally getting out of it, which is exciting. I really want to be reading now, which is something to be said for the past few months, because the past couple of months I just did not want to be reading. But without any further ado, I'm just gonna jump straight into my wrap-up. The first book I finished in April was American Gods by Neil Gaiman, and I can tell you that when you are kind of in the midst of a slump, this is not a good book to be reading. If you didn't already know, American Gods follows basically the gods that have been brought to America by immigrants, and then generations later the gods are starting to lose their powers because less and less people believe in them. I thought this book was just kind of okay. There was some points in times where I really slogged through it. It was unnecessarily long and descriptive at certain points, and I feel as if it was trying to make a point about how we live our lives now, but it just kind of got muddled. This book had a fantastic premise, but just didn't quite execute. However, I really loved Neil Gaiman's writing style. I will try out another book by him in the future. I gave American Gods 3 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was actually a graphic novel, and it was Blankets by Craig Thompson. I think I picked this up because of the Tome Topple readathon that I kind of casually participated in, and it was my first ever graphic novel. I was super impressed by it. It basically just chronicles the formative years in Craig Thompson's life. It's actually kind of biographical. It's a story about first love and confronting your religious beliefs and a couple more things that I just did not expect. I also really like the artwork in it. The color palette was really great, and I was very happily surprised with this book, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. The next book I read in preparation for the movie was Everything by Nicola Yoon. I read I'll Give You the Sun around when it came out and was very pleasantly surprised by it. I thought the writing was gorgeous and the themes were very important. With her debut, I just really wasn't that impressed. I didn't really love the writing as much as I did with The Sun Is Also the Star. Didn't care for the plot, didn't really care for the characters. I thought their relationship kind of developed super unrealistically quickly, and I was not a fan of the ending. This one I was not a fan of, however I did get through it really quickly. I read it basically within a day. I gave Everything 2 out of 5 stars. The next thing I read was Wires and Nerve by Marissa Meyer, and it is the graphic novel series that follows the events of after winter. I thought it was great, and I'm kind of disappointed that a lot of people, or more people, aren't actually talking about it. I've heard basically nothing about it, and this is coming from someone who liked the Lunar Chronicles but didn't really love it. I thought it was good, and with this graphic novel I was blown away. I really liked the story and some of the themes that were discussed in Wires and Nerve, and it follows probably my favorite character from the Lunar Chronicles, which is Aiko. I gave Wires and Nerve 4.5 out of 5 stars. I highly recommend it, and if you like the Lunar Chronicles, I really recommend that you check it out. The next thing I read I actually listened to, and it was The Host by Stephanie Meyer. Now, I have had a little bit of a sordid past with Stephanie Meyer. I had tried reading The Host before when I was way younger and when I still actually liked Twilight, but I found the beginning was so boringly slow that I just couldn't get past, I think it was I stopped reading at about maybe 15% of the book. The Host is a sci-fi novel about other beings coming to Earth and basically taking us over, and human beings are now their hosts, the host body for I forget what the aliens were called. I really surprised myself with this book. I went into it with pretty low expectations just because I didn't think I'd like anything really by Stephanie Meyer. I was pleasantly surprised. I really liked the take on the plot because it wasn't down with the other type book. You get the perspective from both an alien and a human and how they come together quite reluctantly. It's kind of a smaller contained story when the world is being taken over, and I really was impressed by it. However, I do think that the book was way too long. It could have been at least 200 pages shorter and you wouldn't have missed any like key plot points, key character moments. And also there are a couple of like conveniences that happen throughout the book that kind of made me roll my eyes, but wasn't too surprised by them because, again, Stephanie Meyer. But I really liked it, and if she ever comes out with a sequel, I would gladly pick it up. The next thing I read was actually Alex and Eliza by Melissa De La Cruz. I have a review going up for it soon, so I will link it down below after I put up the review. This book is a Hamilton retelling, and Melissa De La Cruz basically retells the story of Alex and Eliza falling in love, but unfortunately I found that it fell, again, rather flat. Everything that we loved about the original characters were basically stripped away. Alex and Eliza just spend the whole time mooning over one another but never really wanting to admit that they love each other, and it was very, very young. And not because this is a young adult, it just seemed pretty juvenile, and I was hoping that this was gonna kind of be like a guilty pleasure sort of like fluff read that I was gonna like, but unfortunately. The next thing I read was I listened to on audio in 2 parts. I listened to the first half in April, and then I got the second bit in May because it actually expired on my Overdrive app, and it was Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Ayler-Cyan. It's a very hard name to say. I really enjoyed this book. I really liked the way that the story unfolded and how it was very much a slower read and not very like plot heavy. It was basically, you just follow 2 Mexican American boys growing up in the 80s. You follow them and their family over a couple summers, and there are a few dramatic moments, but the only thing I think that took away my enjoyment from it was because I listened to it so far apart. Eventually in the future I would like to reread it, but for now I gave Aristotle and Dante 4 or 4.5 out of 5 stars. I think it has become one of my favorite contemporaries. A lot of the complaints I've seen about it is that they don't like Cyan's writing style, but when they describe it, it's basically they're talking about the existentialism that Ari especially is facing. I personally really like themes of existentialism and thinking of things in the grander scheme, so that never really bothered me. But if you didn't really like Perks of Being a Wallflower or maybe even The Catcher in the Rye, I would skip this one just because they think very similarly, and I would bet that you probably wouldn't like it. The last thing I read was a reread, and it was Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare. I actually have a full review for it, so I will link it down below. All I'm really going to say here is that I thought it was a solid outing in the next Shadowhunter series that we're going to get, and this reread really helped me solidify my feelings and also clarify a few things that were just fuzzy in my memory. I'm just super excited to jump into Lord of Shadows. I gave Lady Midnight, I think it was 4.25 out of 5 stars. It was slightly lacking in a couple of elements, but still another great Cassandra Clare novel. So those are the books that I read, but I think I'm out of this slump now. I really think that I'm getting back into reading. I'd like to know what you thought on any of these books, if you've read them or if you're interested in reading them. Thank you as always for watching, and I will see you again soon. Bye!